On this episode of the Innovative Schools podcast, Liz and Will sit down with Dr. LaQuanta Nelson to talk about how important positive and clear communication is in your school. Come on, let's learn together. Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of the Innovative Schools podcast. My name is Will. I'm joined today with Liz.
Hey, everybody. I'm glad to be
you're
here.
again. Awesome. We're also joined today by LaQuanta Nelson. Say hey, LaQuanta.
Hello. Great morning.
It is a great morning. It is a great morning. Before we hop into everything today, I just want to, of course, thank you for being here. We're so glad you could be a part of this episode, LaQuanta. But I wanted to ask you both a question. It kind of is going to move into our topic, so I'll just start here. What's something a leader can do or has done that you've seen that immediately makes you question their leadership?
You're coming in hot this morning, huh?
Of course.
Coming
It
in-
really
of course.
is.
Coming in hot. I think for me, it is tough to sit in a seat and know that your leader is being untruthful. Like, I think that is one of those that immediately makes you question their leadership. I can be honest in saying that it is not always easy to be transparent, as a leader, knowing that there are a lot of always moving pieces and pieces to the puzzle that everybody doesn't not understand. However,
Absolutely.
to just blatantly be untruthful says to my head, alert. Okay. So I think that's it for me. That's one of those red flags for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
I was thinking if they just can never admit a fault, if
Oh, yeah.
everything is always someone else's fault,
Yeah.
it's always someone else's doing, it's never on them.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one for me, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking there's so much value in having a really good team and being led by a really great leader. And so I think one thing that really shakes me up is when from the top down, there is kind of like a disrespect. Like they don't value the contributions of a really good team. Because I think we're all being partnered together for this time to bring about a common good. And you can't do that when there's disrespect or untrust. That's hard.
Absolutely. I really like those answers. I feel like in my past experience before working, with AccuTrain, I feel like I could definitely spot out those moments that we've kind of named and what I've kind of dealt with before. So I just like hearing you explain it immediately gave me a story, in my head to kind of talk about and mention. So that was nice. Awesome. Well, I wanted to set that up because we want to talk about positive communication in leadership in schools. That's what we wanted to kind of focus on today. So LaQuanta, if you wouldn't mind just for a minute first, just kind of letting our guests know maybe what you've been up to, what you do normally, and where you're at. That would just be, just kind of let them know what you've been doing.
That's a loaded question. What have I been up to? All the things, right? I'm just so fortunate to be able to do what makes my heart smile every day. And that is supporting schools and organizations around building these cultures that everyone can thrive in, whether we're talking about the janitor, whether we're talking about a senior, or, we're talking about your front office receptionist. And so it's just great to be able to do that. So I have some new partner schools that we've been working with. It's a tough time for everybody, right? Because schools are these microorganisms or these microisms of the greater society in which they operate, right? And so it's no secret that right now, like a lot of places are struggling for one reason or another. And so people come in schools and organizations, and they're the same people who are struggling outside of the building, right? So they come in the building and they're struggling. And so how do we come into a space and level set and align regardless of what's happening outside of the building to get the work done, especially in schools? It's critically important that we get education right more now than ever before. And so I'm just
Absolutely.
so fortunate to be able to do that on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, that's what I'm up to in schools and organizations, helping them figure out how do we make this place even more compassionate, Uh,
Wow.
Mhm.
how do we make this a place that people feel like they are seen, they're valued, they're heard, and that we believe in them? And so that's my day to day now. Of course, I miss being in my own building every day. Like that's a real thing. Like I struggle with that, but I know that I'm doing my dash. That we don't like to
Yeah.
talk about it, but at some point or another, we all are going to get out of here. And so I want to do as much good to as many people as I possibly can. And so right now, that is what purpose work looks like for me, is being in multiple places at multiple times.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
That
Man.
is awesome. Now, did you used to be I'm just starting to forget. Did you used to be a teacher? What was
Yes,
your past in education?
yes, I was a math teacher, and everybody asked like, what do you do for a living? And I'm still a math teacher. Okay, I am forever a math teacher, middle school math teacher, right? And so that's how I started my career. And I'm just so fortunate to have started right there in the middle. A lot of people are like, middle school is crazy. Like, no, keep me away from middle schools. I absolutely love middle schools. It's the special place for crazies like me, right? You got to be a lot of bit, okay, if we're honest, crazy to love middle school. And I absolutely do. So, yeah, I started as a middle school math teacher, did that for quite a few years. And then I never imagined myself being an administrator. That was not my desire in life, okay? My desire was to remain a math teacher for 20, 25 years and then help other
Yeah.
math teachers. That was my goal. But, my folks
Mm.
found out that I had some certification and training and the ability, and they were like, come on up, come on up. So I did. The rest is history, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah,
They pulled you right up there, huh?
yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, let's get into it. I want to kind of get into the meat of what we're talking about. So, LaQuanta, I've heard you use this term before, vibrating higher. What does that mean? And what does that mean for teachers specifically?
Listen, ultimately, what it means is that we must manage our emotions if we want to maximize our impact. I
Mhm.
think that's the shortest way that I can help. Like, if you want to have high levels of impact with students, if you want to have high levels of learning in your students, if you want to have high performing teams in your schools, and you have got to learn how to operate above the noise. You've got to learn how to, regardless of what's going on around you, not let it get in you. Okay, so that you can go higher. I always give this analogy, is there are just some things that are too heavy to hold on to if you want to go to your next level. And so
Mm.
vibrating higher is about that. It's about understanding that how I feel in a morning before I walk into a building is going to have this massive impact on the people that I interact with throughout the day. COVID taught us we are all spreading something, okay? Every day, all day,
I love that.
we're
I
all
love
spreading
that.
That's
something.
funny.
And so vibrating higher is this concept of, what are you spreading every day? Are
Mhm.
you spreading positive energy? Are you spreading love? Are you spreading that anxiety that you have deep within, right? And we've just got to be that. Your EQ, I say it all the time. You can have a great IQ, but if your EQ is thrown off, your impact is compromised. So that's what
Mhm.
Mhm.
vibrating higher is all about, like recognizing, and research has shown us this, right? So y'all, my background is also in psychology. And I really feel like my background in
Mhm.
psychology has aided me just as much or even more than my degrees in education, right? Um,
Yeah.
Research in psychology has proven time and time and time again that, this concept of this phrase that we've said lately, catch my vibe, like
Mhm.
that's a real thing that's been proven, right? So if you hold your arms all the way out, like in essence, we have this force field around us all day, every day that's carrying your energy. And so think of this, as you're passing through the grocery store, you don't even have to say hello to somebody. Like literally you are passing them and you are communicating through your energy. And so vibrating higher is all about honoring that. Like that's heavy, but it's also beautiful. Like if you're aware, it's like, wait a minute, let me check myself. Let me check myself before I step into this position, because who you are in your person has a
Mm.
direct impact on who you are and how you operate in your profession. And so that vibrating higher is all about that. If you want to have greater results with the people that you work with, the people that you teach, that you lead, that you love. You first got to master your emotions and make sure that you're bringing the best version of yourself every single day. So that's what that's about.
I actually really like that phrase. That's something I have been thinking about
Yeah.
as I've like just recently kind of preparing for this as well. Um, like I play on some different volleyball teams sometimes, and just when we start the game, if we're not starting hype and excited, the first ball drops and hits the ground, attitude dropped
Yeah.
immediately. And
Yeah.
it's so hard to pull that back up. It's like it's so immensely difficult to be able to do that. So that's sort of something I've been really thinking about, is just trying to focus on vibrating higher to just keep it in check and be showing up my best self the best that I can for everybody. So
Yeah.
that's really good. Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
LaQuanta, I have had the honor and privilege of being around you at many of our innovative school summits.
Yes.
And every time I see you walk through the hallway or you're walking into one of those breakout rooms or pre-con rooms, and you always, always, always just have that really positive, very vibrating high kind of energy where you're just spreading that positivity. I always see a smile on your face. And I know that can't always be incredibly easy or simple to do. Like, do you have any like strategies that you practice that are helpful when you're like, hey, I'm bringing a lot of stuff in the door, but I want to show up as my highest and best self? Like, can you help me, girl?
Yes.
Help our
So,
listeners.
we are our habits. Our habits, I think I posted this morning about this, like your thought patterns, right?
Yeah.
Your habits really dictate your being. If you, I'm a crybaby, so you're talking about me smiling all the time. I'm literally over here, like but it's critically important that you create habits of wellness. Some
Mm,
of us are focused so much on our physical, I'm going to the gym, I'm pumping iron, I'm doing this, but you forget your spiritual being, you forget your mental being. And
yeah.
so for me, I am a woman of faith. I daily meditate. I start every morning crisscross applesauce on the floor. And if it's a morning where I get up and I find myself like in a rush, or I'm like, I literally at some point in the morning have to stop to
Wow.
practice this attitudes of gratitude are a game changer for me. There was this a study that was done not too long ago, basically around this concept of those that are practicing gratitude versus not. Literally, the control group just went about their day regularly, right? The group that was being tested, they wrote down 10 things that they were grateful for every single day, and those things were around their personal life, their professional life, and then their inner life, right? So they had to,
Hmm.
within those three buckets, write down a cumulative 10 things that they were grateful for. And at the end of that 30-day period, kid you not, 23 is a funny number because it pops up all over the work of the place in my work that I do. But those folks that were practicing that simple, like literally, you didn't have to write it down. You could literally be driving your car. Didn't matter the method in which that they engaged in the practice, but as long as they said or wrote down 10 things that they were grateful for that day, they were 23, on average, 23 and up to 31% happier. They didn't
Mm.
have more money. They didn't have more handsome husbands or more
God.
well-behaved children. They literally had the same life, but
Yeah.
practicing gratitude every day intentionally around those three buckets, right? Helped them tremendously. It's so funny because I remember one of the days that I was coming in, I was late from a flight. Y'all know flights have just been all over the place lately. I was late. The
Seriously.
flight was crazy. So I ended up having to drive in. Okay. So flight just kept delaying, delaying. I was like, I'm going to miss innovative if I don't just drive. And so we literally last minute at the airport got got like rented a car and drove up, right? On the way there, like I got a call that basically my house was having a leak. All
Oh
of
no.
these
Oh.
like this is real life that happens, and so I told Sam that. I said, Sam, it's been a morning. Sam was like, really? I started telling him some thing. He was like, oh. It's like, Sam, it's okay. I'm just gonna take a couple of deep breaths, and in this moment I am alive. I am here with you guys, and I
Yeah.
get the opportunity. I still have opportunity to make impact, right? And so it's
Absolutely.
just reminding yourself that even in this moment, things can be wild. They can be
Yeah.
really, really wild. And there are things that are beyond my control, but it's like, what can I control in this moment so that I am operating in my dash? My sister
Mm.
passed last year from breast cancer, almost a year ago exact. She passed on October
Wow.
the 31st last year.
So
Um,
sorry.
yeah, she was a trooper, and I'm gonna tell you, she taught me so much. She thought she was my second mom, right? But outside of that, even through her illness, like her last few days, she was a talker. She was one of those people that in school, like she used to get the notes, she talks too much. She was brilliant, but like my mom got the note, she talks too much. Like that was the note. But she was fluent in sign language. So even on her last
Okay.
days out, she wanted to communicate. That was she wanted to communicate. And we were talking the last few days. She got to where she couldn't talk anymore. And kid you not, her last communication to me, thumbs
Mm.
up, thumbs up, right? And so it's this thought process that we always have a choice. You've got a choice. You've got a choice whether you are
Yeah.
going to, wallow in despair when life is happening, or you've got this just wildly courageous, right? Almost like rebellion.
That's
Like I'm
good.
going to rebel against what's happening at this moment, and I am going to choose positivity. I'm going to choose optimism. And research has shown that when you learn to train your brain to choose optimism, to
Yeah.
be more positively focused than negatively focused, you are 31% more productive, more creative, right? And you free up your spiritual, your mental space just to be, to breathe, to live, to be better, right? And so
Wow.
I've just found in my professional world, doing turnaround work is not easy. Like literally, I started going gray. That's when I started getting gray hair. Okay, doing turnaround work without telling anybody that is and has been the most impactful work of my life, right? To go into spaces where people say there is no hope, to go in spaces where they say these kids can't and show that it actually
Wow.
can be done, and it requires and as I'm talking out loud, I'm thinking, right, being positive in 2025, being optimistic in 2025, right? Having hope, it is an act of rebellion. Like, God darn it. I,
It
I,
is.
I don't have to choose to operate in the way that everyone. So, yeah.
Hmm. I feel like there was a lot in that was able to take away with, honestly. There's a lot of stuff in that I really liked, that was really good. You kind of were mentioning for a minute there, you said that there are things that we can't control. So I kind of want to take things back into schools to where sometimes it feels like there's too much that we can't do. So how knowing that schools can be stressful, how can teachers kind of put on a model of not fear? I mean, have a pedagogy of hope instead of fear without, losing accountability over staff and students.
I think that it's important right now to honor and activate the power of the pivot, right? So for example, I kid you not, this was
Mhm.
yesterday. I was booked to do a keynote at a conference that really focuses, on Black and Brown students, on staff, assistant teachers, the whole nine, right? They do a lot of after school programs. Got a call yesterday, funding is cut. Like zero, like they're having to put a complete
Oh,
halt,
wow.
yeah, on the program. And so, when she calls, she's crying. She's like, they need the support. They're tired. They're stressed. We've got to build into them, but I can't. I said, okay, you can't do that, but what can you do? And so it's that power of the pivot. Like
Wow.
there are some things that they're beyond our control, but in the moments that those things happen in schools, right? We pause and we say, but what can I do right now? What can I do to still have impact on teaching and learning? And one of the activities that I always do in the workshops, when I'm with teachers is let's talk about the attributes and the characteristics and the words and the thoughts and the phrases that come to mind around the perfect school. Okay. 9 times, a very few times, right? And I've done this with tens of thousands of people at this point. Very, very, very rarely will people say something like the curriculum.
Mhm.
Very rarely do they say something like the accountability rating, right? They say
Mm.
things like culture of love, care, challenge, respectful. Like these are the types of words that people use to describe the most impactful learning experiences. And so, what I remind people is everything that you just said is within your control. All the
Wow.
Mm.
things that
Yeah.
honestly matter the most in a school setting are things that are within my control, that are within your control. I have a 12-year-old. Yes, I want him to be high performing, but more than that, I want him to be seen. I want him to
Yeah.
be
Mm.
challenged. I want him, to operate in a place where he's being shown what kindness looks like, and that is also expected of him, right? And so all of those things, those aren't policies. Like nobody honestly think about that. That's a lot of that stuff comes back to your moral compass, right? Like those
Wow.
are things that are within your control. And I think in school settings, sometimes because we do have the pressure to perform. Accountability ratings just were released in the state 2 weeks ago, and y'all, people were stressed. Like I got calls the night before saying, "Listen, we dropped. I know in the morning when this hits, like I have the scarlet letter on my head again." So we cannot negate that schools need expectations for high performance. They absolutely,
Hmm.
we rise to those expectations, right? But in the same time, we've got to acknowledge that the things that get us to those high expectations, they are not just the curriculum. It's so much more than that. It's how do you care? Like, do the kids know you care? Do the people know you care? All of those are the things that truly matter in a school setting. And so when you're talking about stress, it goes back down to what's within my control. This
Mm.
baby is in front of me right now, and I can control helping them to see that they're loved, that they're cared, that they're challenged, right? That I
Hmm.
believe in them. And so, those are the things at the end of the day that make a difference in a child's life. We all know the saying Maya Angelou, right? You may forget what somebody said to you, but you'll never forget how
Hmm.
they made you feel. And so
Yeah.
much of
Yeah.
what has to be attended to right now more than ever in schools for impact is making sure that we attend to the culture of care, right? The culture of care.
That's so empowering to be like, this is what I can control and this is how I'm going to show up well. Like, I feel like that's just so powerful for an educator.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like for everyone, honestly. But
True.
yeah.
So true.
Talking about vibrating
So
higher, going back just for a second, I kid you not. I'm a foodie. Okay. I love to eat. All
Me
right. So I'm always
too,
trying to
girl.
find what's the best restaurants, right? And live music. That's my other thing, right? Live music is my other thing. But so we were on a concert tour and we had found this restaurant that had really high ratings for the food, right? So me and my friend, we go in, and I could tell that the waiter was off. I mean, he was off. And so we weren't midway through the meal, and he came back and he looked at me, and I was smiling at him, and he said, "Can I be honest?" I said, "Sure." It's Friday, of course. We're honest on Fridays. He laughed his head off. He was like, "I have had the shittiest day." Excuse my French. Right? But he said, I've had the worst day. He was like, and it is something about your smile that, like, thank you. Like, thank you. So after that, we laughed. His whole demeanor changed, right? And so it was that concept of vibrating higher and culture of care. Like I recognized he was having a bad day. But instead of
Wow.
saying, "Hey, give me the manager because this guy is off," it was like, you know what? I'm just going to give him some light. I'm going to give him some of my culture of care. And so immediately it was that recognition that, you know what? Okay, I probably could adjust my attitude. And so I think talking about in schools, so many times, especially when we're talking about teachers and students that are reluctant learners, is what I call them.
That's a good term. That's a good term.
Reluctant learners that can be tough, you know. sometimes you want to beat them over the head and that whole let me call the manager on them or let me, let me activate, the discipline chart on them, when sometimes what they need is for you to just see where they are, but shine your light on them and model that for them, because oftentimes, especially you're talking about middle school, they'll autocorrect. And we don't give them the credit of that they can
Mhm.
autocorrect. If we would simply model what we expect of them, talking about reducing stress, if we would learn that there is so much power in what we do versus what we say, right?
Wow.
Folks are losing their voice in schools trying to fuss at kids that, it's like the louder you talk, they turn the volume down in their ears. And so that's stressful
Mhm.
for a teacher to say, I'm talking and they're not listening. But talking about reducing stress, modeling, walking the talk is so powerful. It really, really is a game changer for teaching and learning, both academically and character, because we know we're teaching character development all day, every day. And the best way we do that
Yeah.
is through the way that we walk and the way that we talk and the way that we respond, because they're watching how you respond. So the way that we
Mhm.
respond to not so nice things all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been great so far. I think right now we're going to take just a quick break. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. But when we come back, we're going to talk with LaQuanta about what are some practical things that you can take back to your classroom to start using tomorrow. See you in a minute.
Hey, Innovative Schools podcast listeners, this is Jordan. I wanted to tell you guys about the Innovative Schools Summit. It's something we're very closely related to, as you can tell by the name. It's how we get access to all of these experts to be able to record these podcasts and things. But what the summit is, it's about a week long where we get a whole bunch of experts in the field of education together in one place to teach you guys, to teach you all types of things, to teach you things like innovative teaching strategies or discipline, classroom management, and then even into things like how to handle bullying and things like that. It's just a wonderful time to come together with a couple thousand other educators and these experts and learn from them. There's all types of people that we have present at these, many of whom have been on this podcast. People like Michael Bonner, Steve Spangler, Gary Brooks. The list goes on. Pretty much everyone on the podcast has been at a summit at some point in time. So if you like this content that's on the podcast, you will love what happens at the summit, being able to learn directly from them. We have about 5 a year all over the country in 2026. We have New York, Orlando, Las Vegas, Nashville, and San Antonio. And it's sprinkled throughout the year, so hopefully there's one that has dates that fit with you. For details for that, check out the link in the show notes or the description, and we hope to see you there. If you are there, try and find us. We'd love to say hi and talk to you and get your ideas for the podcast. So hopefully, we'll see you there.
Let me know if this sounds familiar. You just finished listening to an episode of the Innovative Schools podcast, and you want to hear more from that guest or speaker. Well, you can at the Innovative Schools Summit. The Innovative Schools Summit is an event that brings internationally recognized thought leaders, educational consultants, teachers, and administrators from all over to come and show you what they've learned. We feature speakers like Michelle Borba, Michael Bonner, Steve Spangler, Gary Brooks, Kim Bearden, and many, many more. You're not going to want to miss this. We hold these summits in the big cities like New York, Las Vegas, Nashville, Orlando, and San Antonio, so there's always one close by. If you want more information, go to the innovativeschoolsummit.com and check it out. We hope to see you there. Hey everybody, welcome back to this episode of the Innovative Schools podcast. Liz and I are sitting with LaQuanta Nelson as we talk about positive leadership and positive communication in schools. Before we hop right back into that, LaQuanta, for those who can see your video here, you have this awesome plaque or board behind you.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that, or how'd you get it?
So it's just, I felt like I do a lot of videos. And, it's the age of content creation. And so I just wanted to always have my logo in the background. But it's very important that people know what BOSS stands for. I think people see BOSS and they think one thing or another. But particularly moving forward, I want to challenge those in education to be boss, right? And so what that means is to be bold, optimistic, spontaneous, and substantial. And it's this concept that it doesn't matter your position. It doesn't matter if you're the janitor, if you're the principal, if you're the superintendent, if you're the TA. If we would all operate in our purpose, regardless of our positions, students, the school, the culture, the organization, you will be better for it. And so, that's what we're all about, is to help everyone understand that you've got power. We
Right.
all
Yeah.
have these individual, unique, beautiful gifts and talents and purpose. We all have a very unique purpose, and if we would operate in it, the world would be better for it. And so that's the ultimate goal of education, right? Is to help everybody realize their potential and to wake it up, not just to realize it, because I think a lot of people know there's more that I can do, but we don't do it, right? And so Boss is all about recognizing that you've got purpose, that you've got talent and gifts, and not only recognize it, but activating it now. Like even with students, we have boss girls. I have boss girls who are first graders and second graders that are like, yeah, I'm learning to advocate and I'm advocate and communicate for
Yes,
myself.
ma'am.
So yeah, so being boss it's a movement, all right? It's not just a label. It really truly is a movement that we're on to help people live their absolute best lives while they have breath in their bodies.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
I think you kind of mentioned that having talents and skills. And I think a talent you have is coming up with these short phrases that get stuck in my head. Because
Yes.
the other one is GPS, please.
Yes.
Can you tell us kind of what that means and kind of how you go into that?
Well, it's very important that people know, where are we trying to go? So if I'm the principal of the school, right, or I'm the superintendent, have I communicated in a very clear and concise way to all of my people that are on my team? So if I'm a principal, do my teachers know our actual goals for the year? Do they know our vision? Do they know our mission, right? And I like to think of it this way. I'm a fast driver, right? I'm getting better with it, right? Because I'm getting older and I'm like, I probably should slow down, right? But
Do you drive an Altima?
no,
Oh my gosh, do you?
Oh, okay.
no,
Oh,
Okay, I was like, oh wow.
thought that was a pretty
no,
safe guess,
no.
but
I think that, have I ever had a Nissan? I'm trying to think. Maybe I had a G6 one time. So I think, yeah,
okay.
I had anyway, Infinity, Nissan, yeah. But anyway, so GPS I think of it this way. Me and my friends, we are all going to trail each other to some event, right? I don't tell them where we're going. I just say, hey, y'all follow me. We'll get there. In my mind, we were going to Las Vegas to see Bruno Mars. Okay. In my mind, that's
That
where we're
sounds
going.
Oh,
fun.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Can we
He's
come next time?
phenomenal, by the way. I saw him a couple of weeks ago.
Oh my gosh.
But so in my mind, we're all going to drive cross country to go see Bruno Mars in Vegas, the 9 p.m. show. That's in my mind. But I just told them, y'all follow me, right? I'm a fast driver. And traffic is crazy and we're changing lanes and we've got a long way to go and somebody has to use the bathroom. I didn't know. I just kept driving, right? I get there, I'm cute, I'm ready for the concert, and I look back and nobody's behind me.
Right.
Had I said to them, y'all, I've got everybody tickets, front row tickets, right, to Bruno Mars, Las Vegas, 9 p.m. show tomorrow, right? That's where we're
Meeting with
going.
LaQuanta.
Even even if in the midst of me driving, right, in my fast driving, if they lost sight of me, right, if they knew we are all going to the Bruno Mars concert, 9 o'clock, meet me there. Even if they lost me along the way, they can recalibrate that GPS. They can recalibrate and they can find me. And so it's the same concept in our schools. Like as a leader, if I am constantly communicating to my people, this is the end goal. This is where we're
Yeah.
going. This is where I want us to end up. Even if we kind of have to activate the power of the pivot, even if we have to, when you get lost and you take a wrong turn, it recalibrates for you, right?
Yeah.
It's critically important that we do that. That's at the school, at the principal leadership level, and a school level, in the classroom level. As a teacher, day to day, do my students know the learning targets? Do they know where we're trying to go? Do they know that by the end of this class period, you should be here? Right? I think that we don't always give our students due diligence. We don't give them credit for the agency that we need them to activate in the learning process when we don't GPS them, right? Like, say, this is where we're going. And there are multiple ways to get there. That's the other thing. And that's the beauty of math, right? I love being a math teacher. There are so many ways to get there. There are so many ways. And so I think we have got to do a better job in education of painting this picture of, yes, this is the big goal. This is where we want to go. But there are so many ways to get there. And if we just keep that GPS on, right? Keep in alignment, even if we go left, we can recalibrate and we can get to the end goal that we want to. So that's what GPS is about honestly, again, that clear, concise communication. Do people know where we're going? Do they know the vision? Do they know the goal for the day? Do they know the mission? Do they know the action steps? Are they clear? Have you clearly communicated that we're going to see Bruno Mars?
Yeah. Because I would have beat you there, I think, if I hadn't known that's where we were going. I think I would have beat you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like that, though. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, you need to be clear in the way that you communicate and set a clear goal so that everyone can reach it. I mean, that just makes perfect sense to me, honestly. And I feel like I've never thought about it in that kind of terminology, but absolutely, yeah.
And there's so much research around it. Research has proven that in the learning setting, it's one of those high yield strategies that teachers sometimes just, because it is so simple to make sure that at the beginning of every lesson, you are activating the prior knowledge and you are clearly communicating where we are going today. It's a very simple but high yield strategies that teachers need to make sure, and it's leaders too. As a principal or a superintendent, your people need to hear your voice every day saying, hey, this is the vision. This is where we're headed. So powerful.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. Well, the next thing I want us to kind of talk about here within communication, I've heard you use this term. You said, was it clear is kind?
Yes. That's Brene
unclear
Brown.
is unkind.
Yes.
Or Brene, okay, yes.
We love
So
Brene.
why? I guess we kind of just talked a little bit about it, but if you could just kind of put an emphasis on why clarity is so crucial.
When we aren't clear, we leave these massive holes for people to interpret however they'd like. When you aren't clear, you leave this massive void in communication. And where there's a void, all the stuff that you don't want to have there is going to fill it. Like, it's human nature to go negative, honestly. Like, it's human nature when people see a hole to think that if I step in the hole, I'm going to die. Okay? It's human nature to think that there's a hole there, so there has to be something wrong. Right? So when we leave these voids in communication, confusion fill it. All right? It's going to confuse it. It's all the conflict is going to feel it. All chaos is going to feel it. All the things that you don't want to go in that void, that's what's going there. And so it's critically important that, every day, all day, and as a leader, you've got to check yourself, because sometimes you think that you're clearly communicating. Think about this, even in a math lesson, you can think you clearly articulated the concept, right, down to where it's attainable for the students. But if you're looking at your data and your data shows that nobody in the classroom mastered it, well, as a teacher, I've got to go back and I've got to reflect on how am I communicating the learning targets? How am I communicating the steps? How am I communicating this big picture concept down into something that is not so tough for students to understand? Same thing with our staff, with principals, right? You can tell people we want excellence in teaching and learning. But what is that? What does that look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? And so we've got to create in communication these exemplars for what it is that we're looking to have happen in our schools and in our classrooms. And so that's what we're talking about when we're saying clear is kind. And again, that's Brene Brown, and she is our guru on vulnerability. And it's so critically important in schools that in our communication, we're vulnerable, we're honest, we're transparent. It's very, very important that we're doing those things, because in the communication, we also have to understand that it's two-way. right? And so that's a
So
big
true.
piece that we are leaving out in schools as principals, in classrooms as teachers, that communication is not just a one-way deal, right? It's two, three, four, five way. And so
Yeah.
we've got to set ourselves up so that we have not just we're communicating clearly, but we have these clear lanes that people feel safe to say their thoughts and
Hmm.
safe to share their perspective, because it's only then that we really, really can get, again, the highway of learning, that we can go fast on the highway. When it's 2 lanes, 3 lanes, 4 lanes, and they're clear, there's no chaos in it, no rough tires in the road, right? It's clear,
Yeah.
and we can press the gas. And so, you know, creating environments where people feel safe and seen helps to support clear communication.
When you were talking about clear communication, it makes me think, have you guys ever seen that video where a teacher asks their students to write out how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
No.
No,
You ever
I've
seen
got to
those?
do that.
So she sits them down and she asks them to, explain the process. How do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And then she would follow those instructions exactly. But because they weren't clear, it would say things, it would just say, spread the peanut butter. And
That's
she would say, on
messy.
what? And she would just spread it on her hands and they would say, spread it on the bread. So she would put it on top of the bread that's still in the plastic wrap because it wasn't
I
clearly
love that.
communicated to take that out the loaf, grab a butter knife, get the jelly, and make those things clear. So they had to, they're all laughing and having fun about it, but they had to go back
Hmm.
and completely redo that because it just was not clear communication. So that just kind of made me think of that. Think of that situation, that those holes that are created are massive.
Yeah.
Massive holes between communication. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's it.
I feel like it lends to so much like messiness and
That's
honestly a lot of conflict,
a
especially
lot of,
from like a leadership and especially an educational standpoint, when there are those holes that are left
absolutely.
open,
So I'm gonna have to go
unclear.
Google that. That sounds great. Peanut butter.
Yeah. It's very funny. It's very good. Yeah. I guess
Mhm.
speaking of conflict, with conflicts happening in school, I mean, some every single day, how can we have good communication and approach that still protects relationships and the culture? Like how can I use good communication to keep those two things
Mm.
alive?
I think that conflict has gotten a bad rap, right? I think when people think of conflict, they automatically go to negative. But I think in schools, if we would shift our perspective, um, so that conflict is seen as opportunity, right?
Mm,
Instead of it just being, oh
yeah.
my God, woe is me, we've got conflict. Conflict is an opportunity to clarify, right? To strengthen commitment. It's an opportunity to get people to buy into what we're doing, because conflict brings us this opportunity to communicate, to share
Mhm.
thoughts, to share perspectives. And what's true is if we want the best solutions in our schools, we've got to have more perspectives at the table, right? And so conflict is just an opportunity for us to have clarity around what are we doing? You know what? I don't understand. What are we doing? It's an opportunity for us to again strengthen the commitment, because again, once people are clear about what we're doing, it's like, oh, I get that. That is what I want to do. We are on the same page. We do have the same goals. And so I think we negate the value of conflict. Conflict does not have to be a negative thing. It can be a door that opens, the lanes to new levels of success in our school, if we would only view it as that. Every day is something new in schools, right? We are living in a very new time. We're all having to daily adjust and pivot. And because we're living in new times, we've got to constantly be looking for new solutions. And you're not
Absolutely.
going to get
Yeah.
your best solutions if it's just one train of thought. Like, I need to know, what do students think about this? I need to know, what do my teachers think about this? I need to know, what do my parents think about this?
Yeah.
I need to have multiple perspectives on this thing, because from my view, the world is different. I am, for example, what are you guys right now? If you tell me, what are you looking directly at in front of you? Straight ahead, what do you see?
A screen.
Right?
You.
So,
You.
and so for me, if I'm looking straight ahead, I am looking out the window. It happens to be a gloomy day here on the coast, right? So for me, looking ahead, that's what I see, right? And so if
Yeah.
we aren't careful, we will take what we see as the concrete, absolute end of it. And that's not the case, right? And so we've got to be willing to understand that two truths can exist at the same time. I can be looking out of my window at a gloomy sky, and you could be looking at a
Yeah.
screen that has me on it, right? And so as we're
Mhm.
looking at creating solutions, I need to know what you see, because otherwise I'm going to create a solution for a problem that you don't have. So it's critically
Mm.
important that we're constantly viewing conflict as opportunity for us to communicate around what we see and what we're experiencing, because we also take it for granted and assume that everyone's experience is the same in an organization, in a school, in a classroom,
Mhm.
and it's not. But you don't know that unless we've opened those lanes, right, of communication up for people to be willing to open up and share that. And that can be viewed as
Yeah.
Yeah.
conflict when people are sharing that my experience is not your experience, right? But if we would view conflict as opportunity, it truly changes the game.
Yeah. Wow.
Absolutely, dude.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm taking notes. I'm taking all this. I'm about to apply this the rest of my life, honestly.
Oh,
Communication and clarity. I am. Yeah. Um let's move into more, I guess, some of the practical takeaways that we can give here. So, you have the phrase "be makers of moments."
yeah.
What are some practical ways that schools can create those unforgettable experiences?
Um, so in my young age, I did not struggle with attention deficit. I did not have issues focusing, staying on task. In my old age, after being, I call it administration happened, okay? Administration happened to me. I've been diagnosed with administration, okay? After you have been in a seat where everybody expects you to have the answers all day to everything at any given moment, your mind is constantly on, let me be proactive, think through possible scenarios, what could happen, how can I fix this, how can I support this, how can I challenge this, how can I, so your
Yeah.
mind gets to a point that it's like this, right?
Yeah.
And so it's taken me years, right, to start to recognize it and then to start really working on slowing it down. And so I will tell anybody, to be real makers of moments, you've got to train your brain to slow down. You've got to be
Wow.
in the moment to make the magic happen. Right? You got to be in the moment to make the magic happen. And so many times we have opportunity to be someone's light, to be someone's encouragement, to be their lifter. But your brain is going so fast, you're on to the next thing. You're standing there with someone, they're sharing a thing, and instead of you being in the moment, listening right there with them, you're trying to figure out, how am I going to make sure the cafeteria line is running fast today, right? Or you're trying to think through, it's raining outside and I'm down a man for car rider line. Like, who am I going to get to fill in the car rider
Right.
line, right? Or even in the classroom, you're thinking, as a teacher, you're thinking, the bell is going to ring in 5 minutes and I got to hurry up and get through this problem so I can get. So our mind is often 3, 4, 5 feet ahead of where your body is. And so for me, I'm constantly saying, be where your feet are planted. Be where
Wow.
your feet are planted. And it's only when we are in the space where our feet are planted that we can activate the magic of the moments, right? And so in schools, what does that look like? So for me, for example, it could be a random Monday morning, and I got a call from a parent that says, I don't know what the heck y'all are doing up there, but my child has been reading all weekend. I love it. Thank you. Whatever. They're going to take their AR test this morning, and I'm excited,
That's
right?
awesome.
So it could be, for me, a random Monday morning. I'm on the car ride line and get a communication like that or a call like that. So when I get back to my office, I'm running the AR report. And every child that is taking an AR test that morning, I am calling their name out on the intercom, and I'm saying, "Meet me in the atrium." Right? I'm in the atrium. I got a happy for them. Like literally, it takes me 2 seconds to run the report. It takes me 60 seconds to jump on the intercom and say, I see you. I know what you were doing this weekend because you just took an AR test. Meet me in the atrium. Literally, we're in the atrium. We're clapping. They're grabbing their thing. They're back. I mean, honestly, 10 minutes of my time,
Wow.
2 minutes of theirs, and I have made their day. Not only did I make their day, but that mom, she's excited because she's thinking my baby is in the number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just one example because middle school, again, I'm a middle school girl. People would say middle school kids won't read, boys won't read. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, they will. We've got to figure out how to motivate them, how to drive them. Matter of fact, what are you reading? It's like that walk the talk. The way that I
Mhm.
was able to get non-readers to get interested in reading is because I was reading books, right? And I was like basically pitching books. I was like a commercial, like a walking commercial. Hey, have you heard about this book? No, well, let me tell you what happened. This girl in here, she A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so that was how we turned kids on to reading, first of all, by walking the talk, by being readers and being able to pitch
Mhm.
it, but like being makers of moments with reading, with literacy, right? So those random reports, same thing for PBIS or whatever it is that you're focusing on, what gets measured gets done. We hear that so many times. And so we were working on literacy. And so even for me, I was always trying to figure out how do I move the needle with literacy. And so being a maker of moment, even around our goal. And so I think sometimes people think, they may think, oh, it's just a party. You're throwing a party no, this party is attached to a product and to an outcome of learning, right? And so thinking through
Mhm.
what is the big picture? Again, go back to that GPS me. What is the big picture? Where are we trying to go? And how am I in the moment sparking acceleration and excitement around getting to that big picture? And so that's just an example of that, of how do you become makers of moments? Like in the moment, listen to what people are saying and take that feedback and run with it. So that's just one example of that.
Yeah. I feel like you feel so seen also in that moment, especially taking it back to those like core values of what the teachers can really own in their
Yeah.
spaces. It's like
Yeah.
that child felt so seen when he was like, oh, I was reading all weekend. The mom was so excited. And you're instilling that value into that child where it's like, I can follow and I can excel here because like I was celebrated and my value was instilled even through something as simple as, reading a book.
Absolutely. Another
I think that's
example
so
of that,
beautiful. That's so
for
awesome.
example, so that was as a principal, like principal hat, big down, teacher hat. When I tell you, I had lesson plans. I planned them out. But if there was a moment in a classroom where I saw a student activating agency, or they had a question, or they were ready to take the lead on the learning, honey, we are activating it. We listen, hashtag I am now the teacher, you're the student, come on, let us have it, right? And so literally, there were times that I would stop teaching and I would say, Tag, you are it, you've got it, right? And I would take their seat, they would take mine, like those things. But you've
Wow.
got to be in the moment to see that this child has mastered the skill. Not only have they mastered it, but they are confident around it. They're ready to roll. And so those simple things. In a math classroom, listen, to teach mean, median, and mode, we're having a fashion show. And there, I kid you not, I have some of my babies who are now lawyers, who I kid you not, like homecoming, because I started teaching in my hometown. Like they were like, you remember that time we had a fashion show when you were 20, you hear me? 20 years later, I started my career teaching math, right? And so just being willing to step outside of the box. Like, yes, you have your curriculum. Yes, we have these high quality instructional materials, but they will never take the place of you being in the moment with your beautiful babies that are in front of you, or with your beautiful team that's in front of you, and activating the excitement that can happen only when like I see you. So yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. All right. This last question for you, LaQuanta, is kind of a two-parter.
All right.
So if you could give educators listening just one thing that they could start tomorrow to improve their classroom or school's communication, what would it be? And then my part two to that could also be, how could you push that to maybe a principal and administrator? What's something maybe they could start doing to help their communication as well?
Oh, that's heavy. Because there's so many things that I think that we can do. This sounds really crazy, but I think what I would say is Michael Jackson said it best. I'm looking at the man in the mirror, right? I'm asking him to change his ways, right? I think one of the most powerful things that we can do to start changing the way we communicate is to look at how we are showing up, right? I think that looking at, because communication, what you say out of your mouth is just one small facet of communication. Your body language, the energy, like all of these pieces matter when you're talking about communication. And so if I'm coming in the conversation and I'm coming in arms folded, head sideways, like that is communication. That is communication even before it comes out of your mouth, right? And so just being really self-aware of how you're showing up to school, right? How you're showing up in the classroom is critically important. The other piece that I always tell people, of course, that's before what comes out of your mouth, but you gotta be careful about what comes out of your mouth, my friends. One of my chapters in Boss Moves, my book, it's entitled "Language That Lifts." Like all day, every day, you have the power to, I don't care if I'm redirecting a child with misbehavior or I am having to provide some guidance on lesson plan feedback as a teacher. I've got the opportunity to be honest, transparent, and uplifting at the same time. And I think people forget that. I think people think if I'm being honest and it's one of those, courageous conversations, that it has to be rough, that it has to be cold, and it does not, right? I can be honest, right? I can provide actionable feedback and be uplifting at the same time. And so I think those are two powerful things. Number one, recognizing how you show up in a school, right? How you show up with children, how you show up with teachers, and how you show up with parents before you open your mouth. And most definitely, like, what are you saying day to day when you're communicating? I like to think of this, and I always, when I'm coaching teachers and principals, I tell them this. I have this parrot, right? And I'm going to let I need you to keep my parrot for just a few days for me. When the parrot comes back, he is going to be repeating things that you've said multiple times. What is my parrot going to say when he returns to me after being on your shoulder for a few days? And so you've got to know that the things that you are saying as a leader to your people every day, they're playing it over and over in their head when you're not around.
Yeah.
As a teacher, the things that you're saying, those little things over and over to your students, they're playing it in their sleep. As a parent, right? The things that I'm saying to my child before they get out the car riding line, like that is what they're hearing throughout the day. And so we've got to be very, very intentional with what we're saying and how we're saying it if we really want to maximize our impact. And again, being boss, it goes back to that. That's what it's all about, doing maximum good to as many people as you possibly can. And so our communication is most definitely a major part of that.
Wow. I love that. I'm going to start imagining I got a parrot now.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I'm going to start doing that. I really like that.
making me
Because now I'm
think.
starting to think, what
I'm like,
would the parrot,
oh.
when I give it back, what would the parrot be saying?
It's going to help me be more mindful at the
More
words that
mi-
are coming
and
out
you
of
know,
my
and I
mouth
think that's
repeatedly.
That's it. That's it. Just to be more mindful and to know that I'm a human being too, right? So in the process of this, don't like get stuck and wait a minute, let me think over 1,000 things before I say it out loud. No, it's just being mindful. And it's a habit, right? It's a habit.
Yeah.
The more you practice it, the easier it becomes to, be intentional with the words. The Four Agreements is one of those books, outside of mine that I highly recommend, right? But the Four Agreements is one of those quick reads that it will help you with that. To just think through, to being mindful, right? To be impeccable with
Yeah.
your words is that fourth agreement. If it's not the fourth one, it may be the third one. But anyway, being impeccable with your words, right? Because after they're said, you can apologize, but
It stays.
it stays. It stays. And it's a beautiful stay or it's a tough stay. So you get to decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can still think back to the things that people have said to me in the heat of the moment or things like that. And it still has that lasting imprint. And so just being mindful that as best as we can, nobody's perfect, but
That's
as
right.
best as we can, just being so mindful to uplift with the words. That doesn't sacrifice honesty or doesn't sacrifice the truth of what needs to be shared. But yeah, we got to be uplifting and mindful. Those things last.
Yeah.
So
Honestly, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, LaQuanta, for joining us. Honestly, this is probably one of my favorite episodes that I've been able to be a part of.
Don't make
I'm
me
gonna remember this
smile.
parrot. I'm gonna I'm gonna remember
Okay.
this parrot, and
Yes.
I'm gonna be present where my feet are planted.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
He had a lot of these key things I think I'm gonna remember for a long time. So thank you so much.
It's been an
We'll see ya.
absolute pleasure. You guys know I absolutely love the AccuTrain. I call y'all family. You're the AccuTrain family. And so it's always a pleasure to be with you guys. Y'all are a great group of humans, you know? I don't say that lightly because I am impeccable. I say what I mean and I mean what I say, but you guys have just been phenomenal. And so just kudos to what you guys are doing. So you just keep doing what you're doing because you're helping more people than you ever would know. You just can't imagine the impact that you are having. So you just keep going too.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit.
You need a tissue?
All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Be boss.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation between Liz and Will and Dr. LaQuanta Nelson. If you want to contact her, we're going to put all that in the show notes down below. We hope you learned something on this episode. If you did, we'd love it if you shared it with some of your education friends. We want to help as many educators and teachers as possible just become better versions of themselves, and we can only do that with you guys sharing it or liking it, leaving us a review, any of that kind of stuff. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.